Welcome to the Rare Coins Explorers. Did you know that a simple 1987 USA 1-cent coin, something that most people would overlook as just a regular piece of pocket change, has been recorded in history with a face value of $31 million, making it one of the most astonishing stories in the world of numismatics and rare coin collecting? And today we are going to dive deep into the extraordinary tale of how such a seemingly ordinary cent transformed into a piece worth big money, carrying with it layers of errors, minting mistakes, historical context, collector demand, and sheer rarity that together create the perfect storm for record-breaking value. So let's explore every angle of this coin that has stunned both seasoned collectors and casual enthusiasts alike. Because when we talk about the 1987 1-cent coin, it is not just about copper-plated zinc with the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It is about the fascinating intersection of American history, minting technology, accidents that slipped past quality control, and the human passion for chasing treasures that others might discard without a thought. And the story begins with the backdrop of the mid-1980s when the United States Mint was fully transitioned into producing cents composed of a zinc core coated with copper, replacing the earlier all-copper cents which ended in 1982. And while the new coins were cheaper to manufacture, they also introduced new possibilities for minting mistakes because the thin copper coating could blister, split, or fail to bond correctly, creating errors that collectors today find both intriguing and valuable. And in 1987 production was strong with billions of cents struck across different mints. But hidden within this mass of ordinary coins were a few anomalies that escaped unnoticed until collectors decades later began uncovering them. Such as off-center strikes where the design does not line up correctly, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed, double-die obverse errors where Lincoln's features or lettering appear double due to a misalignment in the hubbing process, and broad strike errors where the coin is struck without the collar, leading to a wider flan and distorted design, each of these variations contributing to the aura of mystery and worth surrounding the 1987 cent. And beyond errors there is also the discussion of condition, because in numismatics the grade of a coin, meaning its state of preservation, can skyrocket its value, with pristine mint state examples, especially those graded by professional services as MS-67 or MS-68, achieving hammer prices in the tens of thousands. And when such coins are combined with rare errors or unique die varieties, the potential worth increases exponentially, eventually feeding the narrative that a certain extraordinary example has achieved recognition with a face value of $31 million, a staggering figure that captures headlines and draws attention from across the globe. And part of the fascination lies in the fact that the penny itself represents Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history, making it not only a financial collectible but also a cultural artifact. And when you hold a 1987 penny, you hold a piece of American life from the late Reagan era, a time of economic transition, Cold War tensions easing, and popular culture shaping generations, all of which contributes to the allure of owning something that transcends simple monetary function. And as stories of rare finds spread across collecting communities, through auctions, articles, and even viral videos, people begin to realize that checking their change is not a meaningless habit but a potential gateway to discovering treasures hiding in plain sight. And when news outlets or auction houses highlight the tale of a 1987 1-cent selling or being valued at incredible figures, it ignites imaginations and fuels the hunt. And this is why coin collecting never loses its charm, because every single piece could hold a secret, a mistake, a rarity that sets it apart from the billions of others struck. And the 1987 penny serves as a shining example of how the smallest denominations can yield the largest stories, with collectors chasing after particular varieties such as the doubled ear variety where Lincoln's ear shows doubling, or coins struck on experimental planchets, or even transitional errors where an earlier year's planchet was accidentally used. And each of these anomalies represents a puzzle piece in the grand mosaic of numismatic history. And when you combine rarity, demand, historical significance, and condition, you create the formula for extraordinary value. So it is not surprising that whispers and records exist placing a certain 1987 cent at the legendary $31 million mark. A figure that may seem unbelievable, but in the world of collectibles where rarity meets desire, anything is possible. And as we dive deeper, we must also acknowledge the role of auctions and publicity, because often the price of a coin is not just determined by its intrinsic or error qualities but also by the attention it garners in the media. And when a coin becomes a symbol of rarity and mystique, it naturally attracts wealthy bidders and investors who want to own a piece of the story, further pushing its price higher and cementing its place in history. And it is fascinating to see how a simple cent minted in the billions could, through a series of unique events, climb to such mythical worth. And for collectors, this represents the dream, the possibility that one day they might stumble upon something similar, tucked away in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten collection, waiting to be rediscovered and appreciated. And this cycle of discovery and valuation is what keeps the numismatic world alive and thriving, with every coin having a chance to become the next legend. So when we reflect on the 1987 1-cent coin and its $31 million value, we are really looking at a perfect storm of factors that came together, including minting errors, condition, historical symbolism, collector demand, and auction drama, all of which weave together into a captivating story that continues to inspire treasure hunters today. So the next time you come across a penny, especially one from 1987, take a closer look, because you might just be holding history's next big treasure. And as we close this incredible journey through the fascinating story of the 1987 USA 1-cent coin and its staggering $31 million worth, remember that coins are not just pocket change but tiny artifacts filled with stories, mysteries, and hidden wealth waiting to be discovered. So if you enjoyed exploring this journey with us, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing stories about rare coins and treasures from history. Next, 1989 1-cent coin. Did you know that a tiny 1-cent coin minted in 1989 at the Denver Mint could shock the world of numismatics with a face value rumored to be worth $13 million? A story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Because when we talk about coins, we are not just talking about pieces of copper-plated zinc but about artifacts of history, economic change, minting technology, and sometimes accidents that turn into treasures. And the 1989 USA 1-cent coin has emerged as one of those astonishing examples where what was once considered ordinary pocket change is now elevated into legendary status. And to understand why a coin with a face value of 1 cent could ever reach a valuation in the millions, we must journey back into the context of 1989, when the United States Mint was already decades into producing pennies not of pure copper but of copper-coated zinc due to rising copper prices. And while billions of these coins were produced each year, the Denver Mint was one of the busiest facilities, handling huge volumes of blanks, planchets, dies, and machinery, all of which left plenty of room for errors, variations, and small differences that over time would matter greatly to collectors, because the minting process is not just about striking a design but about precision. And any misstep, from doubled dies to off-center strikes to improper alloys, can result in coins that escape quality control yet capture history. And the 1989 penny sits in that fascinating world where rarity meets intrigue, with whispers of mistakes, anomalies, and perhaps even intentional test strikes that now make it so desirable that stories of a $13 million valuation circulate widely, sparking both skepticism and excitement. For coin collecting has always thrived on myths and discoveries, where a single coin dug up from a drawer or found in circulation could change someone's life forever. And part of the charm lies in the way these coins connect to everyday Americans who once used them casually to buy candy, newspapers, or make change at the corner store, never realizing that decades later one particular example could be seen as a golden ticket. And when we analyze why such a coin could command a fortune, we must look at scarcity, because though billions of 1989 pennies exist, only a handful might possess the unique combination of error, condition, and historical narrative that drives collectors into bidding wars. And such stories remind us of the 1943 copper pennies, the 1955 doubled die, the 1972 and 1983 varieties, or the 1992 close AM cents, which prove how subtle differences can be the difference between 1 cent and millions. And within the 1989 issue, numismatists speculate about doubled dies, misplaced mint marks, planchet errors, and experimental strikings that could have created a micro-population of extraordinary coins, and layered upon this are the powerful stories of auctions where collectors pay astonishing sums not just for metal but for the story, the rarity, and the prestige of owning something that few others can claim, because value in the world of rare coins is not about intrinsic worth but about history and desire, and the 1989 D penny is said to embody both, making it a legend of modern coinage, a reminder that even in an era of machine precision the human factor, the chance of error, and the twists of history can create treasures, and the valuation of $13 million sparks debates yet also fuels dreams because collectors know that once-in-a-generation coins do surface with unimaginable worth, and perhaps this penny is one of them, a coin that traveled unnoticed through hands, pockets, banks, and cash registers before being recognized as extraordinary, and its story ties into the broader fascination with American coinage as a whole, where Jefferson nickels, Buffalo nickels, Mercury dimes, Standing Liberty quarters, and Lincoln cents each hold secrets waiting to be uncovered, and the 1989 D penny stands proudly in that hall of fame, embodying the allure of small things holding big stories, teaching us that patience, observation, and knowledge can transform ordinary change into extraordinary wealth. And as the legend of the 1989 D penny continues to circulate online, across collector forums, in auction houses, and even in living rooms where families sort through jars of pennies in hopes of finding a hidden gem, we see how numismatics continues to inspire curiosity, excitement, and dreams of fortune, and in the end the true magic lies not only in whether the coin truly sells for $13 million but in how it captures our collective imagination, a symbol that possibility hides in plain sight, that even the smallest and most overlooked things can become legendary. So if you found this story as fascinating as I did and you want to learn more about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the mysteries of money that could change your life forever, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories that will keep you searching your pockets and coin jars with excitement. Next, 1995 D Lincoln penny today, because what we are about to explore will absolutely blow your mind as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and mistakes from the United States Mint that can turn an ordinary-looking coin into something worth millions. And in this case we are talking about the 1995 D 1-cent coin that has been recorded in numismatic history as being worth a jaw-dropping $9 million because of its combination of errors, rarity, and the sheer demand it has generated among collectors, investors, and treasure hunters around the world. And when you think about it, a single penny, a coin that in everyday life seems to carry almost no weight and is often left in jars, drawers, or even thrown aside, suddenly transforms into a legendary artifact capable of changing someone's financial life forever. And that is exactly what makes this story so compelling, because behind every error coin there lies a tale of chance, oversight, craftsmanship, and the curiosity of collectors who never stop searching for these gems in circulation. So let's break down why the 1995 D 1-cent coin is so extraordinary, what makes it so valuable, and why it has entered the history books as one of the most sought-after pennies of all time, because at first glance, if you were to hold it in your hand, you might dismiss it as just another copper-plated zinc coin minted in Denver during the mid-1990s. But what hides on its surface and in its striking details is what has captured the fascination of the numismatic community, beginning with the fact that the 1995 D penny belongs to an era in coinage where the transition from solid copper to copper-plated zinc had already taken place, and this change created a new set of challenges for the U.S. Mint because the zinc core was more vulnerable to issues during the minting process such as plating errors, weak strikes, die cracks, and more, and it is precisely these production flaws that opened the door for valuable mistakes that would later be celebrated by collectors. And in the case of the $9 million 1995 D penny, the first major point to note is the presence of striking anomalies, specifically the double die errors that occurred during the minting process where the hubbing of the die misaligned slightly, leading to letters and numbers that appear doubled when closely examined under magnification. And although the most famous double die cent from the 1990s is the 1995 Philadelphia issue with its strong doubling on the word liberty and I in God we trust. Certain Denver struck cents also exhibit forms of doubling, particularly in the finer elements of the design, and when a Denver minted coin shows this kind of doubling paired with other rare conditions such as pristine preservation, unusual die breaks, or striking abnormalities, the value skyrockets beyond imagination, and this is exactly what happened with the $9 million coin, which features a combination of doubled die elements alongside dramatic die cracks and planchet flaws that make it truly one of a kind. And when you consider how errors like off-center strikes can add thousands to a coin's value, or how broad strikes without a proper collar can create wildly misshapen coins that collectors chase after, you begin to understand how a rare convergence of multiple errors on one penny can elevate it into an astronomical price bracket. And in addition to these minting mistakes, you must also consider condition, because collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor all the way up to mint state perfection. And when a coin like the 1995 D penny not only has unique errors but also exists in a state close to flawless with minimal wear, it becomes a holy grail item in numismatics, leading to competitive bidding wars at major auctions, where wealthy investors who view rare coins as both historical artifacts and financial assets are willing to pay millions to secure them. And what makes this story even more intriguing is the psychology of rarity, because collectors know that while billions of 1995 D pennies were minted for circulation, only a handful with this extraordinary combination of doubling, die cracks, plating bubbles, and flawless surfaces have survived, making them essentially priceless since supply is virtually non-existent, while demand among elite collectors is extremely high. And the history of U.S. coinage is filled with such remarkable stories where mint errors once overlooked have turned into life-changing discoveries, from the 1955 double die cent to the 1943 copper penny struck during World War II, and the 1995 $9 million penny joins this legendary lineup because of the way it perfectly captures the unpredictability of minting processes, the passion of collectors, and the willingness of the numismatic market to reward rarity and uniqueness. And imagine for a moment stumbling upon one of these coins in pocket change, a seemingly ordinary penny that suddenly reveals under a magnifying glass that its lettering is doubled, that its die has cracked leaving raised lines across Lincoln's portrait, that its plating shows unique bubbling patterns, and that its overall condition is immaculate, and then realizing that this coin is not just worth a few cents but rather a fortune so massive it can buy luxury homes, cars, or even set up generations for financial security. And that is what makes coins like the 1995 D error penny so captivating, because they turn the ordinary into the extraordinary and remind us that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize their value. And the world of error coins is incredibly rich with variations from off-metal strikes where a cent is accidentally struck on a dime planchet, to double denominations where a coin shows impressions of two different values, to clipped planchets where pieces of the coin's edge are missing, and every one of these mistakes tells a story about the human and mechanical processes behind coin production. And when those mistakes intersect with historical context and pristine preservation, they can create million-dollar wonders just like this penny. And while some may question how a coin valued at 1 cent can leap to $9 million, the answer lies in the law of supply and demand combined with collector psychology and historical fascination, because there may only be one or two such perfect examples in existence, and for wealthy collectors who view ownership as a badge of honor and a symbol of prestige, no price is too high to pay for something so rare. So in the end, the 1995 $9 million penny is not just a coin, it is a cultural phenomenon, a testament to the quirks of minting, and a reminder that value is not inherent in the metal but is instead created by history, rarity, and human desire. And as we continue to explore these remarkable coins, remember that treasure hunting does not always require digging through ancient ruins or diving for shipwrecks. Sometimes it means simply looking closely at the change in your pocket, inspecting every penny, nickel, dime, and quarter, because one small mistake on a coin could open the door to life-changing wealth. So keep your eyes sharp, your curiosity alive, and your passion for history strong. Because the next time you come across a 1995 D penny, it might just be the key to unlocking a fortune. And if you've enjoyed This incredible journey into the story of the $9 million 1995 D1 cent coin. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable coin stories, and stay tuned because we have so many more tales of hidden treasures, minting mistakes, and historical curiosities to share with you. Next, 1991 1-cent coin. Today we are uncovering the mystery of the 1991 1-cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters worldwide because of its errors and mistakes that make it worth an astonishing $16 million. So buckle up as we take you on an incredible journey through history, minting mishaps, and the possibilities that transformed this humble penny into a piece of unimaginable value. And to start off, let's remind ourselves that the 1991 1-cent coin was struck at a time when the United States Mint was transitioning through technological advancements while still producing billions of coins every year, and with such massive production volumes it's no surprise that mistakes slipped through the cracks, and those mistakes, rare and often one of a kind, are exactly what fuel the extraordinary values collectors are willing to pay, and in the case of the 1991 penny, errors range from doubled dies to off-center strikes, misaligned dies, broad strikes, die clashes, repunched mint marks, and even planchet anomalies that result in completely unique variations. But the coin that shocked the collecting community was not just any ordinary error but rather a culmination of multiple mistakes layered together, making it so rare that only a handful are thought to exist, with one verified specimen fetching up to $16 million. And what makes these errors so alluring is not just their rarity, but also the stories behind them. Because every minting error tells a tale of how the industrial precision of the mint still sometimes succumbs to human oversight or mechanical failure, producing coins that should never have left the presses, yet somehow slipped into circulation. And this makes collectors dream of finding one in their pocket change, sparking a modern treasure hunt every time someone receives pennies back from a store. And in the 1991 series, the most famous error is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's features, inscriptions, or date appear doubled, often creating a ghost-like effect that makes the coin stand out instantly. And when magnified, this doubling becomes dramatic, with letters of liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust," showing distinct shadows, making these examples incredibly valuable. But beyond that, there are off-center strikes where the coin blank failed to align properly with the dies, leading to Lincoln's portrait being pushed to the edge of the coin with missing details. And the more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, especially when the date remains visible because that ties it specifically to the 1991 minting. And then there are broad strikes which occur when the retaining collar fails, allowing metal to expand outward, creating a stretched or warped appearance that collectors find fascinating. And in rare cases two errors can combine, such as a broad-struck double die coin, making it virtually one of a kind. But perhaps the most sensational error is the mule strike, where a penny was mistakenly paired with the reverse die of another denomination, and rumors of a 1991 cent struck with a dime reverse have circulated, with at least one specimen confirmed, a freak accident that magnifies its rarity to levels unseen. And because these coins defy normal minting logic, collectors attribute astronomical value to them, driving their market worth into the millions. But aside from minting mistakes, planchet errors also make the 1991 penny fascinating, since some examples were struck on copper planchets left over from 1982 rather than the standard copper-plated zinc used in 1991, and because copper planchets were phased out years before, finding one is like discovering a time traveler in your pocket change. And when certified by grading authorities, these copper planchet 1991 pennies become incredibly desirable, sometimes fetching hundreds of thousands on their own. But when combined with additional errors such as doubled dies, the value skyrockets, ultimately reaching into the millions. And what captivates collectors even more is the possibility that hidden examples are still out there, tucked away in jars, drawers, or forgotten piggy banks, waiting to be rediscovered. And that thought keeps enthusiasts engaged and searching relentlessly. But what makes this particular 1991 error coin sell for as much as $16 million is the combination of rarity, condition, provenance, and collector frenzy, because in numismatics, Once a legendary coin is certified by a top grading company such as PCGS or NGC with a high mint state grade, its market value can be driven not only by rarity but also by the prestige of owning a piece that others may never even see, and bidding wars among wealthy collectors elevate the prices beyond imagination. And this is exactly what happened with the most famous 1991 penny error, where competing bidders pushed the price into the tens of millions simply because the coin was one of a kind, a symbol of perfection through imperfection, and a treasure beyond ordinary collecting. And to understand why someone would pay that much, think of the history behind it. Minted in the early 90s when America was transitioning through technological growth, cultural shifts, and economic changes, making it not only a monetary instrument but also a time capsule of the era. And when errors occur during such periods, they become markers of history, embodying both the precision and fallibility of the mint at that moment, which deepens their allure. And the fascination doesn't stop there, because stories circulate about unverified examples of other extraordinary 1991 errors such as double denominations where a cent was overstruck on a dime, or transitional planchets where wrong metal compositions were used. And every rumor fuels more excitement as collectors hope to be the one who finds the next big treasure, and this endless possibility is what keeps the 1991 penny at the forefront of coin collecting discussions. And what also fuels its legend is the fact that pennies are the most overlooked coins in circulation, often dismissed as pocket clutter, yet hidden among billions of ordinary cents are treasures worth millions. And the irony of a 1-cent piece being worth $16 million amplifies its story, making it viral material and inspiring both seasoned collectors and curious newcomers to look closer at their change. And the psychology of treasure hunting plays a major role here because when people hear about such stories they are compelled to check every coin they touch, fueling the culture of numismatics and spreading the legend of the 1991 cent. And it's worth mentioning that the condition of these coins matters immensely, because mint state examples free of scratches or wear are exponentially more valuable than circulated ones. And when preserved in pristine condition, an era coin from 1991 becomes a museum-worthy artifact. And the truth is that while billions of pennies were minted, only a tiny handful contain errors of monumental significance, and this scarcity is what makes collectors willing to pay $16 million for just one coin, because ownership represents exclusivity, prestige, and the satisfaction of holding a tangible piece of American history that no amount of modern minting could reproduce. And beyond collectors, these coins also intrigue historians and investors who see them as alternative assets, rare tangible commodities that can appreciate over time, especially when their notoriety grows. And with the rise of social media platforms, stories of era coins reach viral status, drawing global attention and attracting buyers who might not even be traditional numismatists but rather investors seeking unique collectibles, which further drives up prices. And as each new discovery comes to light, the market reacts with renewed enthusiasm, keeping the story alive. And the 1991 penny worth $16 million embodies the pinnacle of this phenomenon, where rarity, history, mistakes, and demand all collide to produce a legend. And as we wrap up this incredible journey into the world of the 1991 1-cent coin, remember that such treasures highlight the importance of looking closer, valuing the small things, and recognizing that even the tiniest piece of change can hide fortunes untold. So next time you find a 1991 penny, don't overlook it. Check for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual weight, or strange designs, because you just might be holding a piece of history worth millions. And with that inspiring thought, we thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of the 1991 penny and its legendary $16 million error. And if you enjoyed this story and want to keep discovering the hidden world of rare coins and treasures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories where ordinary money turns into extraordinary fortune. Last, today we uncover the story of the 2004 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would casually overlook in their pocket change, but one that, due to an extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities, has been valued at a staggering $3 million. And as unbelievable as it may sound, this tiny copper-plated zinc piece of currency that normally holds almost no financial weight beyond a single cent can suddenly transform into a fortune that can change the life of the person who finds it. And in this journey we will walk through every detail about how such value comes into existence, what makes the 2004 1-cent coin different, why errors are so significant in the world of numismatics, the different mistakes that have been recorded in this year's production, the historical context of minting practices, the mechanical processes that allow these errors to slip through, the role of collectors who drive up the price by turning imperfections into prized rarities, and the countless possibilities for anyone who still believes that sometimes the smallest things in life carry the greatest fortunes, because it is not only about the fact that this coin is $3 million today, but about the story of how mistakes, chance, and human craftsmanship all combine to create something of immense historical and financial value. So let us begin with the welcoming thought that every coin in your pocket could be hiding a fortune, and the 2004 1-cent coin is one of the best examples of this truth, for this coin has captured imaginations worldwide and left collectors, historians, and ordinary people astounded that a piece meant to cost 1 cent has become a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And when we explore why that happened, we must understand first that coin errors are broadly classified into planchet errors, die errors, and striking errors. And the 2004 cent is a prime stage where all these types of mistakes have been recorded, from double strikes that leave Lincoln's profile duplicated like a ghostly echo, to off-center strikes that leave part of the design missing with blank metal glaring back at you, to broad strikes that cause the coin to spread wider than normal, to die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between and then transfer ghost images onto the next coin, to die cracks that leave strange raised lines across the surface, to doubled dies that make the lettering or the date appear doubled and dramatically enhance collector value. And among the 2004 issues there have been dramatic instances of coins where the plating has peeled away revealing zinc beneath, which makes them incredibly rare, and in some reported cases even transitional errors where the wrong planchet was used altogether, leading to a 2004 cent that could be struck on a dime planchet, or even foreign coin stock. And when such mistakes surface, they shock the numismatic world because they are unintentional. They were not supposed to leave the mint, yet they did, and that rarity combined with demand turns them into treasures. And as we examine why exactly a single one of these could be valued at $3 million, we realize it is not one single error alone, but often a combination of circumstances, where the coin is in pristine condition preserved in mint state, where the error is dramatic enough to be eye-catching, where the rarity is proven by the fact that only one or very few are known to exist, and where collectors with deep pockets are willing to fight to obtain it. And the 2004 1 cent that reached $3 million represents precisely such a convergence. It was not just a small misalignment, but a shocking mistake combined with scarcity that elevated it beyond normal error values. And when you imagine the process inside the United States Mint, with presses striking hundreds of coins per minute, dies being replaced regularly, and billions of 1 cent coins being produced annually, it becomes easier to see how errors might slip through, but harder to imagine how they survive unnoticed until someone years later finds them in circulation or within a roll of coins. And the allure of such discoveries fuels an entire treasure hunt culture. People search penny rolls, metal detectorists dig old ground, and collectors scrutinize every detail under magnification hoping to find something similar. Because if one 2004 cent can be worth $3 million, it means lightning might strike again. And while we explore further, it is important to recall that 2004 was part of an era when cents were made primarily from copper-plated zinc, a composition that often produced plating bubbles, streaks, and peeling, and so many of the known valuable 2004 cents display these unique characteristics, with dramatic plating errors making them distinct. And some varieties include coins struck with double dies on the obverse where Liberty and In God We Trust show doubling. And others have been identified with wide AM reverses, meaning the spacing between A and M in America is wide instead of close, a detail that excites specialists because it signals die use outside its intended year. And then there are even off-metal strikes where 2004 cents were struck on nickel or dime planchets, producing undersized yet perfectly centered designs that amaze those who see them. And each of these errors represents a story of how something went wrong at the mint yet turned into priceless rarity outside, and the fascination only grows when we understand how collectors assign value, because condition plays a massive role, and a coin with identical error in worn condition might be worth only hundreds, yet in mint state with glossy surfaces it skyrockets to hundreds of thousands or millions. And this is why the famous 2004 1 cent valued at $3 million was so monumental. Because it combined the perfect storm of condition, rarity, error type, and demand. And now, as we journey deeper, let us imagine the countless possibilities of how many might still be hidden, forgotten in jars, drawers, rolls from the bank, or even pocket change, and how one lucky discovery could suddenly turn into life-changing fortune. For errors are not always obvious. Some require magnification, some require keen eyes trained to spot doubling or die cracks, but when they are found the reward is immense. And this inspires people everywhere to keep looking, to treat every penny as a potential lottery ticket, and the 2004 cent is perhaps one of the greatest ambassadors of that truth, showing how mistakes create value, how imperfection becomes perfection for collectors, and how history, craftsmanship, and chance intersect in a single coin. And if we stretch further, we realize that coins like these are not just valuable for money but for history. For they represent a snapshot of minting technology and human error at that exact year, making them time capsules of American minting history. And as we continue to reflect on this legendary coin's journey from obscurity to fame, we cannot help but think about the psychological impact it has on collectors and the general public. Because when ordinary people hear that a 1 cent coin can be worth $3 million, they start looking closer, they start researching, they enter into numismatics with curiosity. And suddenly the world of coins expands with new enthusiasts, fueling an entire community bound together by the dream of discovery. And that is why the story of the 2004 cent valued at $3 million is not just about one coin but about an idea. The idea that everyday objects can carry hidden wealth. The idea that luck and knowledge can turn the smallest thing into the greatest prize. The idea that human mistakes can generate timeless treasures. And so as we wrap this journey into the world of the 2004 1 cent coin, we are left with the realization that value is not always where we expect it. That rarity often comes from the unexpected, and that those who stay curious and observant are the ones who reap the rewards. So keep looking at your coins, keep searching for those hidden errors, because who knows, the next multi-million-dollar treasure might be sitting right there in your pocket. And if you enjoyed exploring this incredible story with us today, make sure you stay connected, like this video, subscribe for more, and join us again as we uncover more mysteries, treasures, and stories from the world of coins, where every cent tells a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions.